The wrench slipped from Maya Chen's oil-stained hands as the F-16 Fighting Falcon screamed overhead, its engines drowning out the mockery of the men around her. "Look at her shake," Billy Martinez laughed, pointing at Maya's trembling fingers. "Scared of a little noise, sweetheart?" The other mechanics at Thompson's Auto Repair joined in the laughter, never suspecting that the woman they dismissed as a nervous amateur had once piloted that exact aircraft through enemy fire at Mach 2. But when that F-16 suddenly banked hard left, trailing smoke, and descending rapidly toward their small Arizona town, Maya's entire body went rigid. She knew that flight pattern. She knew that emergency maneuver. And she was the only person within 50 miles who knew how to save the pilot's life. Welcome to Stories That Matter. Before we dive into this incredible story, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. Thompson's Auto Repair sat on the dusty outskirts of Copper Ridge, Arizona, a town where Maya Chen had been hiding for 8 months. At 32, she was lean and compact, her black hair usually pulled back in a practical ponytail, her clothes always carrying the honest grime of hard work. But it was her eyes that set her apart, dark, alert, constantly scanning, like someone perpetually calculating distances and angles. The other mechanics had never warmed to her. Part of it was the usual resistance to outsiders. Part of it was old-fashioned sexism. But mostly, it was Maya's unsettling competence. She could diagnose engine problems by sound alone, fabricate replacement parts from scrap metal, and repair complex systems that left her male colleagues scratching their heads. "Where'd you learn to work on fuel injection systems like that?" Tommy Rodriguez had asked her last week, watching her perform surgery on a carburetor with surgical precision. "YouTube," Maya had replied with a straight face. The lie came easily because the truth was impossible. She'd learned fuel systems by maintaining F-16 Fighting Falcons during her 8-year career as a United States Air Force pilot. But Maya Chen, fighter pilot, was officially dead, killed in a classified mission that never happened, in a war the government preferred not to discuss. On this Tuesday morning, the desert sun was promising another scorching day when the low rumble began. Maya was elbow-deep in a Ford pickup's engine when the sound reached her ears. Her body went rigid before her mind fully processed what she was hearing. That wasn't commercial aviation. That was military, and something was wrong. Billy Martinez was the first to notice her reaction. "Jesus, Maya, you look like you've seen a ghost. It's just a plane." But Maya was already moving toward the open bay door, her trained ear tracking the aircraft's approach. The engine note was wrong, too rough, too irregular. She stepped outside just as the F-16 came into view, and her blood turned to ice. The fighter was flying too low, maybe 800 feet. Black smoke trailed from its engine, and its flight path showed the telltale wobble of a pilot fighting for control. Maya's mind automatically began calculating airspeed, angle of descent, probable touchdown point. The math was brutal. The pilot had maybe 90 seconds. "Holy shit," breathed Jake Thompson as he joined the crowd. "Is that thing gonna crash?" Maya didn't answer. She was watching the pilot's desperate attempts to maintain altitude, recognizing the specific maneuvers being attempted. The F-16 banked hard left, and Maya's heart nearly stopped. She knew that maneuver. She'd invented it. The banking pattern, the angle of descent, the way the pilot was using rudder input. It was her signature emergency procedure. "Somebody should call 911, suggested Maria Santos from the diner. "Already on it," Jake replied. But Maya could see the problem. Emergency services were 20 minutes out. By the time help arrived, there would be nothing left but a crater. The F-16 lined up on Highway 191, the only flat space within gliding distance. It was brilliant and desperate, but Maya could see what the pilot couldn't. The semi-truck cresting the hill, the power lines, the curve in the road. "Move," Maya said quietly, pushing past the spectators. She jogged toward her Toyota pickup and pulled out with a spray of gravel. Maya's lost her damn mind. She heard Billy shout as she accelerated toward the highway. Maya reached Highway 191 just as the fighter committed to final approach. She positioned her truck at the curve the pilot couldn't see from his angle, pulling out emergency flares from her roadside kit. She lit 3 flares and placed them in a pattern visible from the cockpit, marking the curve and the safe landing zone. The F-16 passed overhead so low Maya could see the pilot's helmet through the canopy. The touchdown was magnificent and terrible. The fighter hit asphalt at exactly the right angle, sparks flying as metal scraped pavement, speed bleeding off in a controlled slide that spoke to exceptional piloting skills. Maya was moving before the dust settled. Her feet carried her toward the aircraft with muscle memory that overrode 8 months of careful anonymity. She knew exactly where the canopy release was, exactly how the ejection seat systems worked. "Stay back," someone shouted. "That thing could blow up." Maya ignored them. She was already at the fighter's side, her hands finding the manual canopy release with practiced confidence. The canopy lifted, revealing the pilot inside, a young woman, maybe 25, her face pale, but her eyes alert. "You okay?" Maya asked, checking the pilot's harness. The pilot nodded, pulling off her mask. "Engine failure at Angels 20. Tried to make it back to base, but—" She gestured at their surroundings. "Guess this'll have to do." Maya helped her out of the cockpit efficiently. It wasn't until she had the pilot safely on the ground that she realized what she'd just done. In front of witnesses, with cameras rolling. "Ma'am," the pilot said, pulling off her helmet to reveal auburn hair and green eyes. "I don't know who you are, but thank you. Those flares probably saved my life." "Just happened to be in the right place," Maya said carefully. But the pilot was studying her intensely. "What's your name?" "Maya Rodriguez," she replied, using the identity she'd worn for 8 months. "Rodriguez. That sounds familiar." The pilot's eyes narrowed. Before Maya could respond, they were surrounded by emergency personnel and reporters. The questions came in a barrage. Who was she? How had she known what to do? Maya deflected them all, backing away from the crowd, desperate to disappear. But as she retreated, she heard the pilot speaking to a reporter. "That woman handled that aircraft like she'd been working on fighter jets her whole life. That's not amateur knowledge." Maya's blood turned to ice. By the time she reached Thompson's Auto Repair, Billy Martinez was holding court like he'd personally saved the day. "Our Maya's a real hero," he was telling anyone who'd listen. "Ran right toward that jet like she knew exactly what she was doing." That evening, Maya watched the news coverage with growing dread. The pilot, identified as Captain Jessica Walsh, had been interviewed extensively. The woman who assisted demonstrated knowledge of F-16 systems that suggests extensive military experience, Walsh told reporters. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. J. Walsh." She deleted it, but knew her carefully constructed life was about to crash. The next morning brought unwelcome visitors, 2 men in dark suits waiting by her workstation. "Ms. Rodriguez," Agent Davis said, "we'd like to ask about yesterday's incident." "I saw a plane in trouble and tried to help," Maya replied carefully. Agent Morrison consulted his tablet. "You have no military service, no aerospace experience. Yet witnesses describe your actions as highly professional." "YouTube," Maya replied with the same deadpan delivery. "Captain Walsh believes you have extensive F-16 knowledge. That's not YouTube material." That afternoon, Maya drove to the airfield where Walsh's F-16 was being examined. Captain Walsh was there in civilian clothes, looking younger but more dangerous. "Maya Rodriguez," she said, extending her hand. "Thanks for coming. I'm not sure why I did. Because you know I won't stop asking questions. And because part of you wants to tell the truth." They walked toward the damaged fighter. "Fuel pump failure," Walsh explained. "You did good work getting her down." "So did you." Walsh stepped closer. "Those flares, that was tactical thinking. The way you approached the aircraft, knew the canopy release, understood safety protocols. I've seen crew chiefs with less F-16 familiarity." Walsh pulled out her phone. "I ran facial recognition on video from yesterday. Captain Maya Chen, United States Air Force. 137 combat missions. Distinguished Flying Cross. Officially killed in action 18 months ago." The words hit Maya like physical blows. Why fake your death? Walsh asked simply. Maya was quiet for a long time. Because they sent my squadron into a trap. Bad intelligence, compromised planning. 4 good pilots died because someone wanted a photo opportunity. And you, only survivor, spent 3 days evading capture. When they extracted me, the debriefings lasted longer than the mission. They wanted a hero to make the death seem worthwhile. But I wasn't a hero, just the one who got lucky. So you disappeared. The military was happy to accommodate. Everyone got what they wanted, clean narrative for them, anonymity for me. Until yesterday. Maya nodded grimly. I couldn't watch someone face the same odds alone. What now? Walsh asked. Those agents won't stop investigating. Maya had been asking herself the same question. Now I disappear again. New identity, new town. Or, Walsh said carefully, you could stop running. The Air Force needs instructors. Pilots with real combat experience who understand survival. I'm officially dead. Paperwork can be fixed. The question is whether you want to be Maya Chen again. That night, Maya stared at a hidden photograph. 4 pilots in flight suits. Her squadron. Her family. Her ghosts. Major Sarah Kim. Captain Mike Torres. Lieutenant David Park. First Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. 4 names on a memorial wall. Her phone buzzed. Decision time, Maya. The story breaks tomorrow either way. Maya opened her laptop and began typing an email to General Patricia Harrison, her former commanding officer. General Harrison, it's time to talk. The meeting happened 3 days later at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. General Harrison looked exactly as Maya remembered, tall, imposing, radiating authority. Maya, she said simply, you look different. Alive, you mean? Maya replied. Captain Walsh has been asking questions about why a mechanic handled her emergency with professional competence. I couldn't let her die when I had the skills to help. Same instincts that made you a good pilot. Same instincts that got your squadron killed. The words hit hard. That mission was compromised from the beginning. Your squadron died because that's what happens in combat, Harrison replied. We learn from it, but we don't let survivors guilt turn good pilots into ghosts. She slid a folder across the desk. Walsh wants to recommend you for instructor pilot at Nellis. Advanced fighter training. Maya opened the folder. Official forms to bring her back from the dead. This assumes a lot. It assumes you remember why you became a pilot. To serve something bigger than yourself. To pass on knowledge that might save lives. I need time to think. 24 hours. After that, the story breaks with or without your cooperation. That evening, Maya sat in her truck outside Thompson's Auto Repair, watching her coworkers through the window. Good people, honest work, simple life. But they weren't her squadron. Her phone buzzed. Final answer needed by 0800. Story breaks at noon either way. Maya looked at her squadron's photograph. They'd all believed in something bigger. They'd all trusted that if something happened, someone would carry on their work. She made her decision. The next morning, Maya walked into the garage carrying personal items and wearing clothes that looked like a uniform. I need to tell you who I really am, she announced to her colleagues. Captain Maya Chen, United States Air Force. Fighter pilot. 8 years service. Multiple combat deployments. She showed them videos of her in flight, suit beside F-16s. The silence stretched uncomfortably. That's why you knew what to do yesterday, Tommy finally said. Maya nodded. Now I'm going back to train the next generation. Share what I've learned so they don't have to learn it the hard way. The goodbyes were awkward but genuine. As Maya drove toward the base, she felt the weight of transition, changing from Maya Rodriguez back to Maya Chen. Her phone rang. Captain Walsh's voice carried satisfaction. Welcome back to the living, Captain Chen. Feels weird. I've been dead so long I forgot how to be alive. It'll come back. Like riding a bicycle that costs $30 million. Maya laughed, the first genuine laugh in 18 months. When do I report? 2 weeks. Medical clearances, security updates, flight status restoration. Also 1 60-minute interview about your return. Maya drove toward her new life. Not quite Maya Rodriguez anymore. Not yet fully Maya Chen again, but for the first time in 18 months, she was moving towards something instead of away from it. The interview aired 3 weeks later. Maya watched from Nellis Officers Club, surrounded by pilots adjusting to her resurrection. On screen, she looked polished in dress uniform, ribbons catching studio lights. "I didn't fake my death for attention," she told Anderson Cooper. "I did it to escape attention, to find peace after losing people who mattered more than my life." "But you came back." "Because sometimes peace isn't enough. Sometimes you have to choose purpose over comfort. My squadron died believing their sacrifice mattered. The least I can do is make sure it does." The segment ended with Maya in the cockpit of an F-16, helmet on, preparing for her first training flight in 18 months. As the engine spooled up, she spoke into her helmet mic. Ghost 23 returning to active duty, ready for takeoff. Below her, the Nevada desert stretched endlessly, full of possibilities she'd forgotten existed. Maya Chen was alive again, and she had work to do. If this story touched you, and you found something meaningful in it, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to support more stories like this.